So good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to 638th session of Empowering Morning Conversations. Now, why are we here today every single day at 7 a.m. India time? To have conversations and to welcome life with ease, joy, and glory. So welcome everyone, all the beautiful, wonderful people. And I know a lot of us are joining from different parts of the world. And, and I'd like to welcome each and every person. For some people, it might be midnight. So for some, it's early morning. And for some, it's just nice. Like for me, it's 9:30 a.m. at Singapore. So today's topic of conversation is impulse control. So I'd like to start the session by asking everyone to think about any situation that they might have been. Something like, firstly, let me just ask, what do you think is impulse control? What do you think is impulse control? Anybody would like to say? Yes, Vijay.
Good morning, Smiji. Good morning, everyone. Okay. According to my understanding, impulse is our reaction in nature, and control is how we deal with that. That's what I understand.
It's part of our nature and how we deal with it. Okay, thank you. Anyone else would like to say something about what you understand by impulse control? So impulse, yes, sorry, somebody was saying something. Ashokji, yes.
Yeah, I would like to say that impulse is something which you, without thinking, it just comes out abruptly, without giving a second thought or consideration.
Yeah.
And giving split second thinking of whatever you see or whatever you hear, that controlling that is an impulse control.
Yes, thank you so much, Ashokji.
In our language, if somebody says Kaire, instantly, abruptly reply to him equally rudely. That is not doing that is impulse control.
Right. Thank you, Ashokji. So not just acting without thinking. It's like just acting on whatever the first thing comes in your mind. Shantiji?
It is, good morning, everyone. It is the sudden upheaval of emotional, it is the sudden hit of emotional upheaval in the human beings, which arises the fight or flight moment. It doesn't allow the human being to think with the analytical brain, stops the analytical brain. The sudden upheaval of the emotion stops the analytical brain to work.
Yeah, that's true. The emotions that hit you, the fight or flight, hormones that get secreted in your system. Yes, Siva Prasadji.
For me, it is just how to stop reacting.
Right. Wonderful. So these are all absolutely right. How do we stop reacting? How do we control ourselves when there is a sudden impulse to react in a certain way? Somebody's rude to us, and we just, without thinking, become rude in response. So just a few questions for everyone to think about, and you can just type in the chat box if any of this is true for you. Do you at sometimes feel that other people are very slow in making up their minds? Do you often regret not giving more thought to decisions? Do you so thanks, Priya. You feel like you're impatient with yourself. So during the past 3 years, have you made any decision that you might have regretted? Or when you're waiting in a line in any of the places, and somebody just cuts across and brings all his friends in, what is your reaction? Or somebody, you hear somebody gossiping about you and saying, oh, he's such a lazy, dumb idiot. Or, in your workspace, if a member of your team is supposed to do something and hasn't done it, right? So these are all a lot of situations that come in our daily lives that we are dealing with every day, every single day that we are part of this. So how do we then live a life of ease, joy, and glory? The life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. But what is it happening that we are unable to be in that state? Like a lot of you did say that you regretted a decision, or you made an impulse purchase, or you're frustrated sometimes. So how do we live that life of ease, joy, and glory? So the purpose of empowering morning conversation is also to shift from the survival mode, to shift from that impulsive mode to a create mode. And we will discuss some possibilities. And in that moment that you're irritated, in that moment that you're angry, in that moment that you are frustrated, how do you become a possibility speaker? Right? So that's really the topic of our conversation. And then in the process, not lose your energy, not become deflated, but to really take on and charge your day with focus and energy. So we are all here because we know that all of us have immense potential. We do have immense potential, but where does our performance suffer? Because of all these interferers. And today I will speak on, the reactive behavior. We all agree that this is part and parcel of our life. It happens, it's automatic. Sometimes we realize it or don't realize it. It just happens, right? We will talk about the emotional negative spaces or emotional states or negative emotions. And we will talk about the beliefs, assumptions, and beliefs and assumptions and habits, which become habits later. So let's start with this topic of the basics of impulse control and how can we reach there. Are we all ready? Can I see a thumbs up sign? Okay, great. So in everybody's life, and I would like to invite some sharing here. If anybody's gone through, an activating, like what is an activating event? That activating event is when you're feeling all those, frustration, anger, or fear, or, impatience. Would someone like to share an event that happened in their lives where there was something that aroused all these feelings, or any one of those feelings? Yes, Sivaprasad ji.
I think for me, it's becoming a regular event because I expect people to be on time. But normally they will not be coming on time. So it happens almost every day for me.
Right. So then what happens after that?
After that, I reconcile and then go back to work, nothing else.
So, okay, so then you just say, oh, this is going to happen and I'm going back to work.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Shanti ji?
Even I am also an impulsive person. Once my expectations are not met, I also become angry. And it takes me time to control my anger. Sometimes I take a decision which I regret later.
Right. So isn't that true for all of us? I mean, Sivaprasad ji and Shanti ji shared so beautifully for all of us some of the situations where they felt angry when expectations were not met, or when the team, the colleagues or team or anybody doesn't respect the time. I'm sure every person who's listening to this or is here today on the Zoom call would have gone through some situations like that. Isn't that right? Yeah. So what do we do, right? So that is really the situation. When I say A, that is the number one thing that happens to all of us. It's an event that has happened, right? It's an activating event which has made us go into that state, whether it is angry, impatience, despondency, hopelessness, right? And Sivaprasad shared that he would just like give up and say, oh, I can't do much. Shanti ji, yes?
It puts me into a black and white thinking. Either it is excellent or it is very bad. I cannot come to that middle stand.
Right. So so thank you for sharing that, because that's really the way we are all wired. I mean, we are wired for the fight or flight mode in our brains. And just to bring in a little bit of neuroscience here, very quickly, that we have two parts of our brain: sympathetic, which is responsible for fight and flight, and parasympathetic, which is responsible for our being calm. And it's all about activating the parasympathetic. We are all so used to acting on the fight or flight mode. That is a default way of all of us thinking, right? And so it's very natural, but we are all here today to see how is it that we can go beyond that, because that reaction that happens in us is something not related to today, right? It is something that happens maybe 10 years ago in our life, or 15 years, because of which we may be reacting, or maybe that's the way our brains are wired, right? So what are we going to do about it? So, and then there are consequences, right? Consequences are like you regret the decision, you feel like, oh, I shouldn't have gotten angry, then maybe I could have done something about it. Maybe if I don't, if I'm giving up, then there is no hope of my ever having people come on time, which is what I need. Or this is, it's just not right for people to cut into the queue, and I'm just so frustrated that they, my time is delayed to go for that movie. So there's just so many things, there's so many consequences, big and small, that we have in our lives because of those impulses that we are wired towards. So what is it that we can do? There is something between the activating agent and the consequence. Yes, Shantiji.
Pause is one of the techniques. Stop before acting.
Yeah. So let me just narrate another incident, and it's like a personal story. Now, my daughter was supposed to come back at a certain time from seeing her friends. And she did not come back, as she had said, Mom, I'll be back by 9:30. And she did not come back at that time. And then I started thinking, oh my God, she's not back on time. I mean, half an hour later, I was like, all kinds of things are going on in my head, including anger with her, that you are such a irresponsible girl, so stupid. You give me a time and you're like, you don't understand that Mom would be worried. And so I was in that state of mind. When at 10:15, she enters the house and I just burst out. Don't you understand that Mom would be so worried, and why can't you just call and say you're late? Because we're all worried when our children are out late in the evenings, etc. So that was the consequence of that whole event that happened. What could I have done differently as well, right? Hasina?
Yeah, I have a very good example of impulsive behavior. When I was in college, I was given a beautiful sari by my friend, and it was my favorite. And my younger sisters used to smoke. And I told her, don't wear, you can wear any of my saris, but don't wear this sari. And while I was not there, I was not around, she wore that sari and she went. And she came back, there was a hole of cigarette in my sari. I lost my cool. I gave her a tight slap on her face, which one has never done things like that. She was so angry. She gave me a slap. Then I hung on to her hair. She hung on to my hair. And my mama was watching. I said, what family are you all coming from? This is the way to behave. But this was really a bad impulsive behavior. And till today, I can visualize the whole scene that whatever we did.
Right. well, thank you, Hasina ji, for sharing this. So this brings me to Shanti ji, and I'll just come back to you in a minute. So this brings me to really all of us putting our thinking caps on, right? Nobody is immune to this impulse. Every single person in one way or another has these impulsive reactions, right? Nobody is immune to it. And so this brings me to all of us really thinking that what is it that is making us react? There are these default beliefs and assumptions that all of us have, right? And coming back to you, Shanti ji, if you would like to share, if you can think of any belief or assumption when your expectation is not met and you feel really angry.
I think my reaction is inappropriate reaction. As Socrates tell, the person who is angry at the right time with the right amount, with the right reaction is rare. all are reacting to any situations in an inappropriate way, not in the right amount of anger, at the right time, with the right people, with the right situation. This is rare. 0.1% may be that kind of people, and they are extraordinarily successful. We ourselves are curtailing our success by this inappropriate reactions.
Yes, so that is established, that when we have these impulsive actions and reactions, there are consequences. That is established. But I'm just asking you and everyone else here to just take a minute. Just take a minute. And please do this as an exercise. Please do this as an exercise. Just take a minute. When you're thinking of that anger, that hopelessness, that anxiety or frustration, what is the belief? Take up one situation in which you have been angry or upset or frustrated. What is that one belief or assumption that you have in that situation?
The same thing, we are judging people, we are blaming them, we don't want to take the responsibility, we are not for allowance.
Okay, thanks, Shantiji. So what I hear is what's coming up for you is that in your situation, you feel that your anger is building up. As you're thinking about that situation, your anger is building up because there is, in your head somewhere, there is a belief that I'm not responsible, that other person is wrong, right? Or that other person has done this because he doesn't care for me. Or that person is lazy. Or in Hasinaji's case, if I may say so, smoking is going to ruin her sari, and it's smoking is a bad habit, and she doesn't care for me by using my sari and burning a hole for me. Or in Seva Prasad ji's case, it could be, and I'm assuming here, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that maybe people don't have respect if they can't come on time. I'm just putting some suggestions out there. And please see if these are true for you in different situations, or the particular situation that you described, or the particular situation that you have in head. Yeah? So are we all aligned that there is certain belief and assumption that is already on a default mode in our heads that we are going with when we react? So here is an activating event. It is frustrating, it is horrible. And then here is the consequences, and there is the default mode of beliefs and assumptions. So what can we do? And that is when you need to take a minute back from the situation, or even if that situation is past, sometime during your day, take some time to reflect on that situation. If it doesn't happen immediately, it's okay, but think about it. This is the D we have of impulse control. Can we debate in our heads of what really happened? Can we dispute our own thinking in some way? And if it's not working, can we discard it? And how do we do that? How do we do that? Firstly, if you're thinking that girl is so stupid, so irresponsible. Oh, he's so wrong to be angry. He's so wrong to be smoking. So wrong to be not on time. Yeah, but what is the proof that they don't respect you? What is the proof that person is actually irresponsible? What is the proof that person doesn't care for you? Right? And can there be some alternative explanation to that activating event? Think about it. Think about that particular situation you thought about today when you were angry with, which made you think, oh, I get angry when this happens. Think about those situations and see, is there an alternative explanation to that? And if you were to give someone an advice of how, so when you're angry, when you're upset, and and you see somebody else in the similar situation as that, angry, upset, frustrated, impatient, hopeless, what is the advice that you would give that person? And see if that advice works for you. And so many times, similar feelings have come up in the past, like similar feelings of anger, similar feelings of hopelessness, not only in this particular situation, but so many different situations as well. You have the feelings of similar feelings of anger or despondency or frustration or impatience. Is that like a pattern that runs through a lot of different situations? And if it does, then where does the problem lie? Is it the other person that warrants that behavior from us? Or is it us? So really, the starting point is to start looking at what is the proof? Can there be an alternate explanation? If I was to give an advice, so if I may just take Hasina ji's example or Siva Prasad Reddy ji's example. Now, people are late. And Siva Prasad ji, would you care to share what is the belief or the assumption you have there, if you thought about it?
Normally, I'll give them some allowance. For example, if I expect them by 9, I'll also tell them that please be clear. If you're coming at 9:30, make it a habit that by 9:30 be sharp. But my problem is even that people are not following. So then I am frustrated.
Right. So coming back to the belief and assumption, what is your belief and assumption when which leads to that frustration?
No, I see. My assumption is nothing because they're all my family members only, not outsiders who work with me.
Right. But there is probably some belief that is making you feel frustrated, because see, we have to understand that we are all rational human beings at the end of it. Our feelings are not generated out of nothing, right? So if we have to give ourselves space to understand our own feelings, we need to be able to examine the root cause of that feelings. So it's okay. I mean, it's okay if there is something that's coming up for you, and you can keep that to, as a space to examine it yourself. And Hasina ji so sweetly shared the story of two sisters fighting. And I've had that with my sisters numerous times. I fought with them like cats and dogs. We pulled each other's hair. We've like boxed each other. Thankfully, not in our adult life, but we have done it. Right? And everybody has gone through those kind of impulsive And what is the belief system there? Did my sister doesn't care for me? Or there's no love, maybe she doesn't love me, or she's like envious of me, and sibling rivalry is so common, it is a real thing, right? So I have to be better than her, I have to look as pretty as her. There could be so many assumptions there that, oh, I'm not as good looking as my sister, so if I wear her I mean, I'm sorry, I'm just taking your example, Hasina ji, and I'm making a story around it, that yeah, that maybe, you know, my sister's so pretty, then maybe if I wear her sari, I will be as pretty. Maybe the assumption is I'm not pretty enough. Maybe the assumption is that if you take my sari, you don't care for me, you know? So there are so many assumptions that we make before the consequence happens, because of which the consequence happens. And today we are here to really, really look at those beliefs and assumptions in all honesty. Because, hey, all of us are humans. We have those impulses. It's okay. It's okay to have those beliefs and assumptions, but it's not okay to not examine them. It's the world of possibilities open when we are willing to look at what are the interferers that are coming in our way. So I would really like to invite each and every person to look at those beliefs and assumptions and to really debate them out. And it doesn't have to happen real time. It can happen after the event. But if you've gone through this exercise, hey, next time something like that happens, what are you going to do? You would have worked out your belief and assumptions in your head. And then your reaction would be something different. Would you have the same impulse then to be angry? Would you have the same impulse to be impatient or hopeless? Or this person will never learn? Yes, Kunenji.
Yeah, very good morning, Rashmiji. I think it's a great discussion. The question coming to my mind, when we will be debating or examining, then that time also those beliefs will come up. So what should be the real reference to know whether the belief system on that impulsive moment or the belief system right now when I'm examining, what is the best reference to reflect upon? That's the question coming to me.
Yeah, thanks very much, Kunenji, for that question. And I would like to invite you to really think about it, that if there is a belief system that is coming even at the point of reflection, what is it that you can do? What can you do? Is it that the situation, what is it that you're looking for? Even if you're coming back to that situation of reflection, what is your intention? Is it to keep that blame on, keep that perpetual cycle of frustration, anger on, or is it to really look at new possibilities? And like Deepak ji sir says, that what else is possible? Right? So in that situation, if you're if you're examining your belief or your assumption, of looking at it and saying, where is the proof of this assumption? Can there be some okay, I can think of this, that, and that, but can there be some alternate explanations to that? I mean, how many times in an airport when somebody comes and jumps into the queue, say, my flight is late, please let me come in. And sometimes we let them, and if we are not in a hurry ourselves, we let them. But if ourselves are getting late, we get impatient and angry, right? So is there an alternative explanation to our reaction to somebody cutting into the queue? Maybe a dialogue that, look, I'm late too. Okay, it's okay. I'm not too late. And again, in that situation, you know you're angry or you know you're frustrated, then what is the advice that you would have for somebody else? When you dissociate it from yourself and give it to somebody, as an advice to somebody else, new possibilities open up. So, is everyone with me on this? Okay, thank you. And then that is the place where we turn hot feelings to cold feelings, right? We don't want to be reactive. We don't want to be impulsive. We don't want to be taking rash decisions. We don't want to give up. So how do we make the situation or those feelings into an empowering feeling? Are there something that we are thinking that in order for me to be okay, someone out there must do this in order for me to be okay? I should always be on time in order to be okay. Or they must do this in order to be okay. So we have these absolute shoulds and musts in our lives. So, it's not within the scope of this this 1 hour that we have today, but really examine it. What are your absolutes, musts, and shoulds in life? And what are the beliefs and assumptions that are leading to these absolute musts and shoulds? And can you reframe them? And can you examine how true is it? So at this point, I would like to open the floor for discussion and sharing and invite everyone to take a breather, a pause, examine those beliefs and assumptions, dispute them, debate them, discard them. And when I say debate, I mean really debate. Debate those assumptions and beliefs, right? And when I say get your gear ready, something that you need to do to have the kind of consequence that you want. And each and every person has those answers in them. Every person has those answers in them. You know what your gear is that will lead to the consequence that you want. But you have to be willing to examine your beliefs and assumptions. You have to be willing to debate them. If they're not working for you, even be willing to discard them. So that is it from me today. And thank you so much for, having this conversation with me. And I hope there was something that is a takeaway from this session.
Thank you so much, Rashmiji.
Thank you. So, yes, Sivaprasadji.
Rashmi, can you explain about get your gear ready?
Okay. So when I said get your gear ready, in terms of in when you're in that situation of maybe feeling hopeless or despondent, right? And there is a belief and an assumption that is coming in, right? And the minute you have disputed or debated and maybe discarded or reframed that assumption or that belief, are you going into the situation the same way? No, you have a difference. It's like you have equipped yourself with new knowledge, and that's what I mean by gear.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. So, any more questions? Any more sharing? Anybody? Yes, Vitravalji.
One quick thing to share with Teresa is one of the gear which I use is our Ho'oponopono Mantraji. I'm sorry, please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. It works wonder with my family.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Shantiji.
It's like I just pause. A pause is one of the methods, and move away from that place. That is also good. At the heat of the moment, or just as you told, that get your gear ready, move out of that place, pause.
Right. So you're saying that move away from the situation, put on your reflective hat. Maybe that reflective hat is your gear. Thank you for sharing that.
Maybe you count from 1 to 10.
Yes, Hasina ji. Thank you for sharing. Count 1 to 10. Kunal ji.
I think Sukhdeepak Malwai sir has given a great gears or tools to use the moment. Normally, I use everything is opposite of what it used to be. Nothing is opposite of what it used to be. It's important to be in the specific being state with the energy, so that we don't get impacted because of the negativity of that moment. So I think when we use this statement, it takes away negative energies away.
It definitely does, Kunal-ji, and at the same time, we have to understand what exactly is it doing. It's really making, like, the minute we say nothing is the same as it appears to be, everything is the same as what it appears to be, right? So we are disputing, and we are discarding our point of view, and it is a very powerful very powerful tool. So we can do it with this, and it's a fantastic tool. I've used it, and I feel, I've been able to handle the situations much faster, much quicker. And also in the long run, if it's a recurring pattern, if it's something that keeps coming back to you, take a minute, pull out your journal and examine the beliefs and assumptions.
Yeah, makes sense. I think when, as Sukhdeepak sir has always mentioned, and with this kind of empowering morning conversations, basically, we need to be in that meditative state all the time. So when we are in a state, when we are a being of a specific, then those negative beliefs or assumptions will not crop up at all. So
yeah, that's the ideal Buddha state, right? That's the ideal, the ultimate state that we all want to be at. And I think that's the whole purpose that we have these conversations. But even Buddha says that there are times that you cannot be in that state 100%, right? Yeah. Because there's a saying that, something that stops moving is dead.
Yeah, we all cannot become Buddha, but we can be aware that there is a mind, and we can be aware of the thoughts coming in. And of course, it comes with the practice and all such stuff. But what I practice basically, as you mentioned, that our being keeps on changing. It will be. So the emotion, the thoughts, whatsoever is coming up, it's like a travelers. Let them come and go. Let them come and go. Don't hold it. And also the other day when I was talking that it's very important to be completely aware with the moral values. So I should not be doing something in that moment.
Yeah, so I think the anti-consciousness that Ramaji has spoken about. So if without taking it into moral, immoral, judging, okay, not okay state, just be ready to see what is the belief and assumption that comes in your way. When there is a pattern in which you find yourself getting angry now and again, you find yourself getting impatient again and again. And of course, that comes from the only way we can examine our beliefs and assumptions if we stay in that aware state.
Yeah, awareness with the set of values. If not, we might get trapped by the mind to do something which is against the values. That's what I say.
I would invite you to go a little bit deeper in that thought, Gurmeenji, and then perhaps we can come back for another discussion because we're reaching towards the end of the session today, and really, because I think there is something happening here. There is some belief that you're working with at this point. Which is bringing in the element of values. So, and I sense that there is a sense of justification for that belief that is coming up. So I would just invite you to really be with that thought and to really examine it deeply, and not from the position of justifying it, not from the position of discarding it, but just to look at it and see where is that belief coming in, and is that belief system somewhere evoking a response in you, which is something you could do with that.
Yep, makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So with that, we end today's session, and thank you so much for being here and listening to this session. And as always, the best part of the session awaits. And I would like to invite Gurmeenji to, to bless us with one of his beautiful shairis.
Somebody should translate this. Who can do? Hasina ji.
I didn't hear anything. I thought you were muted.
No, now I will say few lines. So can you translate?
I'll try.
It will take you, all of us, to our childhood. अर्ज किया है रश्मि जी के कागज की कश्ती थी, पानी का किनारा था. कागज की कश्ती थी, पानी का किनारा था, खेलने की मस्ती थी और दिल ये आवारा था. कहाँ आ गए इस समझदारी के दलदल में, वो नादान बचपन भी कितना प्यारा था.
Okay. Now come line by line.
कागज की कश्ती थी और पानी का किनारा था.
The boat was made out of paper and
let me try.
Oh, please, thank you.
The paper boat was there, and I could see the shore.
खेलने की मस्ती थी और दिल ये आवारा था.
And there was this whole zest to play, and the mind was so free.
कहाँ आ गए इस समझदारी के दलदल में.
how did I come into this quagmire of being responsible and adult?
वो नादां बचपन भी कितना प्यारा था.
And that beautiful childhood was so beautiful, so nice. The childhood was so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Pinej.
Thank you so much.
So with that, we end today's session. Thank you so much for being here.